Today is Tuesday, the 14th of November, 2017, and it is block height 494,385. Doing it live. Hello to my panelists. Welcome, everybody.
We'll do it live.
We'll do it live.
What's going on, guys? Are we on air right now?
Yeah. I kind of hit the go button. Are you done doing your prep? That important preparation?
Yeah, I got it.
Shinobi was huffing glue in the parking lot, so hopefully he'll be finished up in a second there.
Well, that's no
okay,
more radical.
Because
That's no more radical than what?
Trying to do the same gag at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah.
Well, you can do it. You probably got a funnier one than me.
No, it's okay. Everybody knows that huffing glue is not any more radical than heroin. You know, we all know this, and even though, you know, glue is legal, so the damage to society in some ways is minimalized. Maybe that's the argument then. You know, we have to really analyze that and take care of what you compare huffing glue to when you do tweets.
I can't believe that anybody would ever huff glue. Like, why would you do that? Like the Sherwin-Williams paint, I mean, that'll get you really jacked. Like if you're going for the legal high, definitely go balls out.
Not that this channel endorses any of this behavior whatsoever, and it's entirely owned by Shinobi Monkey.
It's all about the spray paint in the paper bag, man.
If
and
you're going to
if any kids are watching this, this is totally, we're talking rubbish right now.
Right. So this is on prime time. So if you're going to huff glue, make sure you're watching Block Digest and you're subscribed.
If you want to be like Uncle Blakey, don't huff glue and eat your spinach, because that's the right thing to do. There's going to be an after-school special about this sometime soon. We'll have to do a PSA to make up for all this bullshit.
I'd like to say a special hello to James Bond. Thank you for joining us today, James. There you go, that's a special. One of my favorite trolls on the internet, who joins us almost every day, like every episode he's here. It's brilliant, it's amazing. But let's get started. Let's get the FUD out of the way. Let's get the fake news out of the way, because we had a bit of a China banning spree on Bitcoin back in early October. And they thought, well, 6 weeks, we're way overdue. We're going to do some more. So this was the link that was going around in the morning time in Europe, this AM. And it was basically, as you always find, some kind of Chinese website that English-speaking people can't decode. So they all use Google Translate. They take it completely the wrong way. And they think, fuck it, I'm just going to sell Bitcoin down because it's better safe than sorry. I think that's what other people are going to do if they read this same storyline. And apparently in the link I got the link from Whale Panda. And he says that the Bitcoin mining crackdown in China might be the reason why Jihan and BW Pool representative were absent at mining panels today. Apparently they didn't show up. They didn't show up. And people were asking, like, how do we read this? Like, not sure if this is true or not. But it was all okay in the end, because there was a clarification, but not before we dropped like $100. So, you know, the usual modus operandi of, like, you know, the Chinese FUD machine is you release a rumor, then you clarify the rumor after the Bitcoin price went down, wait a week, and then release the real news. And then everyone sells it down like 30%. Okay, who wants to start?
It's another day in Bitcoin.
You got a rant? Oh, you didn't prepare one. Like, fair enough.
All right, let's freestyle it. Let's freestyle it from the wacky paint fumes. All right. I think that this is not entirely FUD, in my opinion, although obviously it was way overblown. Because there actually has been, for at least the last 6 months, like small like news stories like leaking out of China of like illegal hookups like directly by hydro plants in the mountains, or with illegal like hookups into the power grid, having in, or like your power company directly kind of shutting things down or forcing them to move. And like it's not doom and gloom like it's going to be banned, but there is definitely a large amount of illegal mining in terms of like that's not really legal to use, like the surplus directly from the plant, hookups to the grid that aren't really above board. And like I think this is something that's probably going to continue for a while. I don't see it as something that's going to drastically affect the mining landscape, but I do think there are individual smaller farms or miners out there that are going to have their operations shut down as they get busted for doing things the Chinese government doesn't want them to. It's not the sky is falling, but I don't think it's entirely baseless either.
I think that the Chinese want to maximize their exposure to Bitcoin, but they also have power subsidies. So they don't want people using their power subsidies to just turn that cheap power into cheap Bitcoin by virtue of the fact that their power was cheap. So I think that what China is trying to do, in addition to doing these, swings and stuff like that, is they are actually trying to legitimately figure out how much can we assist our populace in getting Bitcoin versus how much can we subsidize power at the risk of these people going out and like weaponizing the process of turning energy into digital storage of value.
I just love when you talk about mining. And also I saw this tweet by Craig Satoshi Wright, who responded to this FUD this morning.
Don't call him that.
What? His name?
Craig,
isn't that what the S stands for?
right.
Craig S. Wright. See, doesn't the S stand for Satoshi?
Yeah,
it's a bit of a coincidence, isn't it? Don't you think that he happens to have S as his middle name? I mean, crazy, you conspiracy theorists. Anyway, so 12 months ago, it could have made a difference, he says, in response to the FUD. Now, too late. There are at least 20 countries that have lower power costs than those in China now. There are gigawatt level offerings that I know of, a couple of players buying their own plants. Wow. Did he actually agree with something that we might agree with? Did he make... What?
Okay. Satoshi, you're hilarious. He's literally arguing with Mr. Hodl, who is speaking everything Mr. Hodl is saying in this thread is completely factual. The point in China isn't the fact that their electricity prices undercut everybody. It's the lack of regulations and red tape regarding actually setting up a mining farm, not having to deal with all the inspections and other bullshit that you would have to in a developed country like the West. It's not just the electricity that's concentrating mining in China. That he doesn't understand that, he is a grandstanding idiot. Responds to everything with some air quote profound statement showing his wisdom and insight, but not.
Well, if anyone is watching and you're an attorney, then you can contact Shinobi. Shinobi. Maybe you can give your Twitter. That's a good way for attorneys to contact their clients, of course, and they can send you a message because of course maybe you're going to have a case against you soon for I don't know whatever kind of thing they could charge you with.
Did you just call attorneys?
Yeah, Craig, right.
I don't know. I called them whatever.
I, the individual, not the other panelists here, but myself, declare Craig Wright a con man and a scammer. Have fun trying to sue a blue monkey.
Well, look, obviously, I have nothing to do with any of this. I was just asked, come on, and just start this YouTube channel. I didn't know. I don't know any of these people that blew up. Surrounded by. Well, that escalated very quickly. But it's no more radical than heroin. So, oh, come on, mate.
No more radical than heroin.
Why don't we just continue to insult the richest people in cryptocurrency, starting with Craig Satoshi Wright, ending with Vitalik Buterin?
I know. I think that he's totally right, and the countries are competing against each other in order to attract miners, and so that they can. We've seen with Russia, we've done that story a few times. They're trying to attract miners, but China giving this. Oh, we have a visitor live on air. We have a new panelist. Sorry. Agnex is here. It's all good. Anyway, what I was saying is I think this might have some, we'll see if this has truth to it. China did have that whole thing with the exchanges, and it turned out to be true, right? So that's the whole thing with the China FUD. Is it true or is it not true? How long? It's kind of like a game of chicken, How much FUD is going to come out? How bad is it going to be translated? And, look at the sources. What are the sources? Does it just have one of those nice round red star stamps on it, or is it really from a credible source? Because that red star stamp that you saw, that's kind of like the standard stamp, but anyone can get that. I mean, me and you, we could have a Block Digest red stamp and just like put it on stuff, and then scan it and say, watch our show today, and we've got the red stamp. Anyone can get that. It looks official, but anyone can get those red stamps. So just keep that in mind. But just look at the sources. What is that media source? Are they connected to the government? Were they legit in the past? Keep that in mind when you're looking at this stuff.
Or just sell it down as soon as you see an official looking Chinese written document because you think everyone else will. You can also do that.
Can we do fun red stamps like pacifiers and Facebook logos and stuff like that?
The merch on this, I mean, will be unbelievable. I think
Stamp
the fans will go nuts for it. I mean, fuck the advertising revenue, seriously. And also, I just want to say to Dr. Craig Satoshi Wright, if you're watching this, I believe in you. All right. So I just want to make that clear. And so do my lawyers, by the way. They also believe in you very much.
I believe in magic in a young girl's heart.
Okay, let's get on to the real topic of the day, the thing that had the whole of social media just blowing up with excitement. Everyone's talking about it right now. It's Bulletproofs. Am I right?
Bulletproofs.
This is just ripping. This is ripping. This is lit. That's what the kids call it these days. This shit is lit.
Nobody is talking about that. Everyone would just rather make memes about whatever Vitalik said.
do. We'll get to the memes later. But first you have to eat your dinner. You can't have your dessert until you've eaten your dinner. Okay.
How can you have any pudding if you haven't eaten your meat?
I was going to say that, and the words didn't come into my head quickly enough. Well done, Blake. Thank you for doing my gag so much better than I could ever do it. Right, look, the thing about this show, okay, the thing we just talked about this before we came out. Sorry, I will let you finish. I just gotta say this one thing. We were talking about like the target audience, because obviously we are targeting you. We do want to dominate that market. We were saying earlier that basically this show is for intellectuals who don't want to admit to themselves that really they like tabloid media. And so it's kind of like sugar-coated highbrow stuff that you're like, yeah, I want to think, but I also just kind of like want to chill out and just laugh and look at like really trivial shit. So we're going to worry.
We'll describe the tabloid news with polysyllabic words, so it's going to be,
exactly.
You'll feel smart at the end of it.
So this is your vegetables, and you're going to have to eat the vegetables, but we'll try to dumb it down as much as we can. Go on, Shinobi. Sorry I interrupted you.
All right. Oh, no, it's all good. All right. So this is the sexiest all fucking year. Confidential transactions pretty much takes a very narrow application of a zero knowledge proof. There is no inflation in a value, that the inputs and outputs of a transaction sum to zero. But the original implementation of this, effectively cryptographic range proof, it just stupidly big. Like the initial implementation would have been 20 times the size of a regular transaction now, just with like 2 inputs, 2 outputs. Previously, they were able to get that range proof down to about 16 times the size of a conventional transaction in the last attempt at this go around. They have not only dropped this to 3 times the normal size of a transaction from 20 implementation, but they have also done this in a way that doesn't require a trusted setup, is aggregable. So if you have a transaction with multiple outputs, that down to a single range proof. If you get into a coin join with other people, you can condense the proofs for all of those outputs down to one range proof. This could potentially be used to prove much more complex things than just the coins were not illegally inflated. Huge fucking gain in efficiency from the transaction size to hide the amounts using confidential transactions. It's aggregable, similar to I guess Schnorr signatures would be a good thing to compare it to, and you can condense all the signatures down to one. You can condense the range proofs for each output down to one. And this could be used to prove arbitrarily complex smart contracts. So this isn't just something that's useful for hiding the amounts. It could actually be used to add privacy to a much more complex Ethereum style smart contract. This is single-handedly, in my opinion, the best breakthrough to date to actually bring real privacy and real fungibility to the Bitcoin blockchain. Yeah!
Dude, I don't care about any of this shit. Did you see the thing that Rick Falkovich put out? Dude, that was some awesome shit.
Yeah, dude, we're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to the tabloid stuff in a bit. But can you just walk us through some of this?
I was being very facetious because what he put out had no value, and the value of this is just ridiculously, objectively funny.
Okay, so starting from the top, Shinobi, can you just take us through some of this math? I want to start somewhere around here. Definition 6, maybe. I was thinking.
Shinobi's like, do I want to go through the math? Fuck no. Bleeding edge fintech math. Let's talk about that.
It sounds like that this will enable people to make, if they're creating blockchain trading cards, they'll be able to do so in a way that will not only bloat the blockchain, but you won't even know if it's a, quote, normal transaction that is changing the ownership of the artwork, or if it's just a transaction between the artist and the new owner. So that could be a real breakthrough in true real life utility of blockchain technology.
Do you want to talk about the mining aspects, Blake, or Acnix?
How does this change mining, Blake? Give us an update.
Yeah.
They can't censor the things.
There you go.
Cover it.
Go on, Acnix.
What the mining efficiencies in terms of you would be able to use this to distribute funds in ways that are more. I mean, it's funny when you look at the value add in terms of fungibility, privacy, cost, and all that stuff versus like, let's just throw hardware at it and centralize the network. I mean, it's just funny to try to keep a straight face when you compare the things coming out of each camp, and then I don't know, you kind of look like a shithead if you laugh at what's going on in other places. So I don't know. I don't want to say too much.
All right, Acnix.
I was just gonna say, yeah. I mean, if it's about mining, we have to let Blake take care of it.
Well, yeah, you took care of it, all right. So what this sort of reminds me of is, you know, those adverts for the razor blades where they say, you know, they've got like 4 blades and they've got 6 blades, and they just keep increasing the number of blades, and they keep like improving. But this is going to improve the efficiency by what, a factor of 3. I feel it's a little bit like a razor ad. I feel like, you know, I read this paper and
I love those razor blades. It's great. They're like
friction, right?
I think are they up to 6 now? It's like crazy. It's like, you know,
Well, I mean,
you know, I remember back in the day when it was a big deal when they had 2
blades,
it's like,
right?
Yeah, it's like 3, 4, 5, Mach 6. You know, it's only, it's like €10 to get a refill or something, you know. It's like,
guys, like, come on. This took, like, to use confidential transactions previously, your transaction would be 20 times as big as a normal one. You would pay 20 times the fees.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. It's like it's 20 times more efficient than the
Shinobi, does this help people buy coffee? Would this enable more people to send microtransactions, small transactions more freely and give people more sovereignty in their drink choices?
It
What
is.
about
It's
peace of
like
mind,
No, but
too?
this will add
Dude.
much more privacy to something like Lightning Network, because you can, like, as long as they figure out the required aspects to actually transactions through payment channels, now you can obscure use Lightning Network. If we have confidential transactions on the main chain and it's this cost effective, you not only have the privacy of routing things through the Lightning Network, but even on-chain channels becomes completely obscured.
And that's what we
Is
need. We've spent so much
fun-
time talking about block size increase and block size debate instead of talking about fungibility and privacy. And when we add things like that to the network, it's like a fractal value add where every single different comparable level of measurable value add is similar with all the other levels of how much value it adds to the entire protocol versus like picking out one thing and then trying to make, you know, compromises everywhere else to get it, you know, ushered through. So I think that that's a good way to look at this.
Well, the only thing better than a sophisticated answer is a well-asked question. Thank you, Theo, for that question about the coffee. That was very well asked. And I will ask Gregory Maxwell to stop dumbing it down and stop sexing up his documents, because this shit is just getting everyone riled up right now. So you need to stop this and dial up the ethics a little bit.
It makes my nether regions engorged.
Just stop being so goddamn sexy. That's brilliant. Yeah, and there was a comment from Jameson Locke, Bulletproofs, efficient range proof for confidential transactions. So you can find it in the description below, all the links, so you can follow along. Right, now I know you've been waiting for this the whole show. The only reason you clicked on this damn clickbaity headline in the first place. Here it is. All right, let's to get started with the lols.
What
Or is this
the
joke just
fuck
not
is
funny
wrong
anymore?
with him?
All right. Good gambit. Anyone else? Rebuttal? All right, so this is the quote by Vitalik Buterin, which, as you can see, is on archive because he deleted it when he realized the optics of such a statement was so ludicrous. He said, in response to a whole thread about Bcash and, you know, all the, I guess, the libertarians and such, and Roger Ver, is he says, they're not a monolithic entity. Roger is not at all single coin maximalist. He then links to a tweet. Plenty of Bitcoiners advocate legalization of all drugs. I don't see legalizing possession of child porn as more radical than heroin. And then he got a bunch of shit for it.
Situational,
Unrelenting shit.
situational context. Okay. All right, we're going to look at all the Bcash supporters. Roger Ver, a felon who mailed explosives through the post office and stored a bunch of them in an apartment building where multiple people lived. The Pirate Party fucking politician who literally advocated a few years ago for legalizing child pornography. Right. The Australian hacky con man who pretends to be Satoshi and reason has a problem with Blockstream developing protocol improvements, while he himself runs a company that patents protocol improvements that they're only going to let one blockchain use. And Jihan Wu, the fucking miner who is hell-bent on monopolizing the entire mining industry. Okay, these are the characters running Bcash. Alec Buterin defends that by saying that legalizing possession of child porn is no different than legalizing drugs. This is just the most illustrious professional people in the entire cryptocurrency space, guys. Come on, let's give them a round of applause.
Well done, mate. Well done. I think he's just trying to prove me wrong, because for so long now I've just been calling him a master, PR person, and he's so really good at marketing. And now he's doing this just to get back at me, because this is all about me. Oh yeah.
Well, I think there's a distinction that needs to be clarified here. He thinks that child pornography possession is victimless. But if you look at the full scope of what goes on with child pornography, if there's been children that have been damaged and that there has been pornography made with them, with or without their consent, they are not legally old enough to give consent for that. So every time anybody that has a product that has come from that lack of consent and you're viewing it and you're having it, that's not okay. It's a violation of the rights of the people that were forced to create it every time that you do it. Now, I wouldn't go as far as to say that it's the same thing with, animation and stuff like that. That might be despicable, but it's not that there's that victim that's had their mutual assent violated in a fundamental undermining of their very basic negative rights. This is the reason. This is one of many, many reasons that people don't like child pornography and why it is a violation of people's fundamental rights. But with what his response was, it seemed to me to illustrate that he was not thinking of this from an individualist basic and thinking about the different rights and the negative rights of the people that are involved. If you don't think of things from first principles and in terms of whose negative rights were compromised or whose negative rights were protected, then you can get yourself into some really hot water, like defending things that are despicable, like child pornography in general. It's definitely not something that anybody wants to be out there doing, because there definitely is a victim. Heroin, I mean, you can say, yeah, there's a cost on society, but the individuals that are engaged in buying, selling it, and injecting it into their own body, unless they're under the age of consent, they're fully engaged in the process of mutual assent. They understand what they're doing. Maybe not the first time, and that's why you don't want people to go and try heroin, but after the first time, the mutual assent is there, and it is not so with children that have been abused through the formation of pornography. So definitely not a good thing to defend, because if you were in a debate with somebody who was a really, really intelligent philosopher who wanted to argue from first principles, you would certainly lose that debate.
Yeah, I think Blake's right on with that, and I think that the creation of heroin, all the people that are hurt by it, it's mostly from it being illegal, and it's
Did you join the pirate party while I was talking?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I did actually. I have an issue with my eye currently, and so I had to cover it up.
Are you insulting people that are visually impaired right now? So what's happening?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm being insensitive. So, Chris, tone down the ethics.
Tone it down.
It's okay. Now, Blake, you said exactly. I was discussing this with someone else earlier today, and that's you covered it pretty much. I don't really have anything to add, but yeah, it's basically that from what anyone can get from it. I mean, the creation of heroin, the harm that is done is mostly because it's illegal. You know what I mean? I mean, there could be harm done too, even if it was legal. But you know what I mean? And it's totally different as far as child pornography. And the comparison is really out of hand as far as I'm concerned. So, I mean, okay, so there's another thing. The reason why this is an issue is not only because of the topic, it's because he deleted it. So, I mean, what should you do? You know what I mean? It's like I was thinking about it for a while today, because we've talked about it before, like, the internet doesn't forget, the right to forget something and all this kind of shit. So how do you deal with this kind of stuff? I mean, on the other hand, he knows people are watching, you know what I mean? He knows that. I mean, he even, we did covered on this show, Proof of Selfie, and that was from Vitalik. So he knows what's up. Of course, in the moment, maybe you forget. So maybe he deleted it in that case. So I don't know. I mean, should you just reply and leave it on there and clarify your position, or should you delete it? Or is he going to have to make a whole Medium post on this, or what? Because it's not going to go away. I think that he's going to have to say something. Rick from the Pirate Party, he's got older papers and discussions about it, so we know his position. I think that inspired Vitalik actually this whole thing, because he must have been discussing it or reading it, or I don't know what. Because if you do some research, you can find lots of writings about that Rick wrote in the past about this topic. But I think there's the subtopic is about, what do you do? Okay, you tweeted something. Now you think it's fucked up, or it's going to be twisted in a way you don't like. what do you do? What's the next step? How should you deal with that? It is an interesting discussion. I don't have the right answer at all. I mean, I was thinking, okay, first you try to just reply and say, I was wrong, or that's not what I meant, or I've got to write something more, or should you just delete it? I don't know. What do you guys think is the right way to do it?
Well, I think the
I
optics
think
on
he
this
shouldn't
is
have said
terrible.
it.
I think that what he should do is he should explain how he understands that what he said was wrong and that he now understands the correct viewpoint. I think anything less than that, there's going to be a bad taste left in people's mouths. Maybe people will forget eventually, but I think it would be better to smooth it over and then have people forget. And the only way to smooth it over is to articulate, I was mistaken. I wasn't considering the victims, and so on and so forth.
They're not going to forget. Like, he said that, and it took him hours to realize, oh, that's something that should get deleted. And then instead of directly commenting on it, he makes a big post about how I'm not going to discuss Bitcoin drama anymore because obviously the toxicity on both sides is so great. There's healing to do. Instead of actually recognizing what he said was unbelievably fucked up on pretty much any level possible and apologizing for that and making clear he realized that, he simply deleted it and hoped it would go away and then tried to distract from things by pointing at the air quote toxicity of the Bitcoin community.
The toxicity of our city.
Exactly. So anyone watching, if you think that we're being unreasonable or quote tribalist or something attacking him, then just post it in the comments, because I think we're being it's a pretty open conversation about what's going on in the whole comment. I don't find it at all toxic or whatever. We looked at what it is, made our comments. It's not about him. And like I said, we've even said, hey, proof of selfie. He has come out and said, hey, that's fucked up. Maybe he was a little late in some of our opinions, but he's like, proof of selfie. That's not right. I'm going to come out and say something about it. You see what I mean? So I will give him credit for that. So he needs to think about this too. What's going on with it, and so on and so forth. So if you really think that this is toxic by just discussing it, because I've seen people today, they're saying, oh, there's so much shaming going on. There's so much shaming going on. Like, oh God. I mean, you have to be able to discuss something. I mean, what the hell? What? Now we can't discuss. Now you're going to shame the shamers, or what is? I don't know. It's just getting ridiculous.
Shame the shamers. Shame the shamers.
Shame.
I think, as just talking to him on the level that he understands, as PR would say, that's terrible optics. Even if you believe it, you don't just go out and say it like that. But Jeremy G in the chat says there are victims in the production of heroin, and says argument is null and something about this being worse than Crypto Network or some bullshit.
Well, that's not a good argument, because there are not victims.
Which one? He made three arguments there.
Well, there are not victims assumed in the creation of heroin. There are victims assumed in the creation of a product that does not honor mutual assent. I mean, it's legally like one of the oldest things that we have a name for.
Yeah, and there's no need to get tribal on us either. So there is that.
Yeah, and I mean, like, literally, like, I can go grow a poppy plant in my backyard and take my time and then harvest that and process it into heroin, and nobody gets hurt in that process. To me, how you can produce child pornography without a child being victimized in the process. I would really like to hear that, because I think you would have made a philosophical breakthrough in the process of applying logic. I really do.
I think we've kicked this horse to death. Do we have another subject?
I was going to say that, like, if you do heroin and kiddie porn, man, you are in a bad place. I'm not sure that it's possible to really compare them. I think that him saying it was no worse, or even trying to quantify those two things, I think Jeremy does make a good point. There are lots of victims in the drug process, but I think largely that's caused by the state with the war on drugs and then the criminalizing of it. But I will say this, that the community probably won't forget, and that is that, these T-shirts, look at how gorgeous that T-shirt is. And this thread is even better. This is by Dark Pill, and the link is in the description below. Look at how recursive this gets. What do you think of this, Alex?
Oh my God. I want the 5th or 6th level of recursion. I need it. I need it.
Look at it. Oh, whoa. What is that? I don't.
That's the one.
I think that might
That's
be
the one.
That's the one I want. Yeah. Oh,
Oh, this is, has to do with the fractal nature of Bulletproof of what Blake was talking about. I mean, just look at that. That is totally representing the fractal developments in crypto in an artistic sense so that we can understand what's going on.
yeah. And Stefan Molyneux even said, never go full libertarian. Oh, boy.
Dude, look, I'm telling you, there's going to be, I'm waiting for it. And Stefan, if you're watching, I don't know if you watch these kind of shows, you might, I wouldn't be surprised, who knows. The truth about Ethereum, or the truth about Vitalik, because he has those videos, the truth about. So he's going to make one about Ethereum or Vitalik or something. And I'm not sure, I don't know what's going to go on in that video, but it's going to be interesting to watch.
Right, yes.
Pizzagate is real.
All right, so we did flog that horse a little bit too hard. But here is the last story of the day, a little bit of an interesting story. And it's all about pump and dumps. They didn't ask me to comment, even though I am a thermodynamics engineer and have a degree in that from the troll box of BTCE back in circa 2012-13. And yeah, I'm an expert. Feds have probably got all my, information now from that website since they completely cucked it. But this is actually quite an interesting article. I think they did a very thorough job on it. I think they did a good job on pointing out what is actually happening in a lot of places in crypto. Though I do think they wrote it from the perspective of we need regulation in order to fix this. But they did go through and dissect pump and dumps. I think there were about 5 or 6 of them in particular that they went through, the shit coins. But it was actually, they did it on like Yobits and some other one that's really kind of obscure, not a well-known, exchange or anything like that. I mean, Yobit, even in our communities, is known for being pretty garbage. I mean, there are some shitcoins on Bittrex, and Bittrex is a bigger exchange. I mean, we've talked about a few of them before on here. But all right, so did any of you read this? Any thoughts?
Yeah, this was actually a pretty thorough investigation. Actually, like they did a good job. They actually went in and did directly some of these pump and dump groups, like in the group itself, and they actually tried to reach out to the operator of one of them. Obviously, didn't respond. It's a pretty good analysis. They actually looked at like the planning in the Telegram rooms and how they were timing the initial pumps. They looked at the provide resources for people. Like they will give you like Facebook groups or like other social media sites to try to draw people into a pump, and like literally time it out to get that initial pump up, like time everybody in the troll box pumping it and going out to like these other Facebook groups and other social media groups. Like, yeah, this is literally exactly what the guy from Wolf of Wall Street was arrested for. And they literally directly drew this comparison to the techniques he used and how these are applied in the crypto space. I'm actually kind of, it's going to suck, obviously, as like more of this stuff is written and we see regulators get more serious about stepping in. But it is nice to actually
Cutting out.
see okay, last part. It's refreshing to see the mainstream media actually investigate things and not just paste things that crazies like Roger Ver tell them.
Yeah, it's good that they're investigating things, but I think they did this for because it's got cryptocurrency in it and everyone can start pounding the drum of let's have regulation. I want to correct something I said earlier. They did actually mention Bittrex. It was Yobit and Bittrex they were looking at. But I really love the response from Bittrex's PR team, who said that due to an unprecedented amount of growth in a relatively short amount of time, we're experiencing a longer than usual wait time in responding to and resolving your requests. So really good optics there on the PR front from Bittrex. Any other comments, thoughts?
It kind of reminds me of 2014. I think there were some articles too. Maybe they weren't quite as high profile, but there were similar articles course, it didn't have Telegram, it had Twitter then, which is still really active. Of course, it kind of paints a light that everything having to do with Telegram is pump and dump, which of course that's not true, and some other things, but I guess it's better than some articles going on. I don't really have a comment about it directly. I think it's kind of funny. People are trying to figure out what's going on in this space. They figured out Yobit is interesting. Bittrex has something going on. And yeah, I mean, they have to, I'm just trying to figure out what the level is of how much research they did to how much they just need to get, clicks. Because, everyone has to cover this. I guess it's done pretty well as far as the article compared to some others. So I'll give them that. It could be a lot worse. Some things are it's not totally accurate, but that's okay.
I think the funniest part is that, like, in the legacy market equivalent of this, you would actually get a name and a face to tie this to, and like an investigation would happen. But good luck finding Tony Montana.
Yeah, well, they can try to track down the people in the troll box, maybe in the Yobit troll box, right? And they can try to, find who it is. I mean, there is no BTCE anymore, so I guess Yobit Trollbox is kind of the equivalent to it or something like that. But yeah, right, exactly. They need that. They don't have a good face. They need that kind of face to put with it to make a good story, to get some good clicks. They need that. So maybe we'll see more headlines with quotes from troll boxes in the future. Who knows?
Yeah.
And if you want to have a really good picture of Business Insider, then get someone with an eye patch.
Definitely. So above us below says BTC is back, brah. It's called Wex now. That ain't BTCE, brah. That
yeah, I know, but it's just a classic.
That shit is gonna get you very much. It's a lovely time
What?
in prison.
You don't trust that site? How is that possible? Oh, come on. Oh, you're just saying that because you work for Bitfinex.
Oh,
that's what it is. We figured it out. We figured you out.
How?
You're fudding other exchanges on Block Digest and commercial nature. We figured you out. Yeah.
I am Rex. That's a good point. I am not unbiased in the situation, so you can strike that from the record. Go ahead and use Wex now. It's a fabulous exchange, and they've got lots of really cool liquidity, and no spoofy either. So I hear.
And you fully endorse their products and their liquidity.
Oh, everything. Yeah, I endorse everything about them.
Wait a minute. They don't have a spoofy. What's going on there? What the hell? You mean so you said there's no nice liquidity and no spoofy. You see how that related? That was pretty interesting. I like the connection there.
Yeah, okay. My desktop has frozen, but I presume you can still see me. Yes, okay, I'm back. I'm good. All right. Final thoughts. In any order. Don't talk over
I think Spoofy is obviously the Finex mascot. Like I would be personally upset and offended if Spoofy was on any other exchange.
Yeah. Can't have him mistaken. Yes, I do work with it for Finex Gugu. What does Chris do? Black Ops. That's what I do.
Force prediction, Bitcoin Cash Classic will be listed on a major exchange this month.
So Classic is going ahead. It's Bitcoin Classic. So it makes you sound like Sean Connery when you say it.
Classic.
Bitcoin Classic.
And just to clarify, Bitcoin Classic is the Bitcoin Cash fork that was supposed to die.
But it didn't die. But is anyone mining it?
I haven't seen any evidence that it didn't die yet, but I'm really thinking either it did die and that mining is so centralized it's insane, or it didn't die because somebody was still on the old chain.
Right. Okay.
I just want to say breaking forgotten news point, breaking fake news that we forgot is that there was a point on the weekend when Namecoin had more hash rate than Bitcoin or Bitcoin Cash. So there was a point where Namecoin was in fact Satoshi's true vision because it had the most hash rate. Because not only was Bitcoin sending it,
Paula Green was really happy. We'll get Theo the fuck out of here because we already talked about this. So we'll disconnect his ass in the middle of what he's talking about.
Damn.
Did you just kick him?
That was like the most harsh
What
timing
happened?
of like a connection dropout ever.
Oh, he dropped out?
He dropped out, and I thought it would be funny
He
to
was
act like
super
we
quick
kicked him
on
out. 'Cause we
that.
already
He was
talked
super
about
quick
it.
on that.
and I think the pirate party is, DDoSing me or something. But
No,
anyway,
you cut out because we covered this story yesterday.
okay. Well, that's
Oh,
True
breaking.
vision.
Yeah, it's breaking fake news.
Yeah.
That's why it's called
So
breaking
breaking, we
fake.
covered
It's
it
a
in
new.
the previous
That's
show.
a new. Exactly. That's a new feature for all the people that are not subscribed and up to date. Then you can. It's called breaking fake news, right? It's after the forced prediction comes breaking fake news,
Break news.
and that's something, right? Yeah, it's something that
So-
happened. But anyway, I don't know what they're now. The question is what is the other one? Were they mining DevCoin too? There are other merge coins. Was that maybe the true vision for a while? Am I your father?
Yes, you're all our father. I just want to say, because it's going on a bit long, is this the blockchain for Bitcoin Classic? Because they sort of posted this tweet up with a spreadsheet, and I'm not sure what to make of it. Is that their blockchain or what?
Oh, we got miners. Classic is alive. It's alive.
Right. So are the miners doing the hashing in Google Docs or what?
Yeah, you can do proof of work by hand, Chris.
I
should
know.
that.
Yes,
Yeah.
I understand that it is theoretically. Yes, I understand it's been done apparently as a demonstration once, and yes, I understand. But are they actually doing their mining in Google Docs?
I would have to say, yes, it is a breakthrough in blockchain technology.
That is a breakthrough.
I think it's just they're pulling data and putting it into a spreadsheet. I don't think they're
But
mining
the question
in a
is,
spreadsheet. But
if you use Google Docs and mining while having an eye patch on, then that's the real revolution.
because that really means something.
Yeah, thanks for spoiling my joke there, Blake. I was just kidding around. Obviously, they're not doing the mining in Google Docs, but that was an opportunity for you all to make funny comments. So good
I
job.
think that they actually are doing the mining in Google Docs.
Surrounded by professionals.
I think that Google
it's the
Docs
fault.
is more extreme than huffing paint.
Okay, yeah, we can circle back to that gag, and we could do a running gag thing. It's no more radical than heroin, Thea.
Heroin
Yeah,
implies that heroin production implies victims in its production, and if you don't know or understand that, you're a fucking moron.
But wait a minute, hold on. Okay, hold on. But the victims created by Google Docs are well exceeded.
Well, the victims were created by the state in the first place, so all joking aside, shouldn't have existed. Right, is that everything you got? Yes, judging by the silence, it is. So if you want to go visit any of the stories that we covered in today's show, you can do so by looking in the description below. At the top of that description, you will see a link to the Bitcoin Mumble chat server where we talk about these issues all day, every day, 24 hours. It's actually not very good for your health now that I think about it, because it will just keep you up late to the hours talking about philosophy and crypto and which coin is going to pump next. No, wait, sorry, that isn't true. We don't talk about pump and dumps in the chat room, but everything else goes. And yes, just to say that if you enjoyed what you saw here today, you can click the like and subscribe. But remember, only if you want to. Bye for now.